What if I told you that the reason you are not having a more satisfying marriage is because you do not communicate effectively enough? What would you think if I made such a bold statement? Maybe you feel offended. Maybe you are even ready to turn off this video and go on to some other videos because you're thinking, wait a minute, are you saying that my marriage is what it is because I'm not communicating effectively? Well, let me just say before you rush to judgment, that is surprisingly not what I'm saying. I'm only going along with what pretty much is the almost the essence of what's out there, what's in the system. People are thinking that the reason why you're not having a good marriage is because you're not an effective communicator. As a matter of fact, maybe your partner, your spouse, have said those words to you, maybe have accused you of being a poor communicator, right? And maybe you've felt that, I guess, the reason why we are not being able to see eye to eye is that we just don't communicate effectively. Here's what I do know, and I would want you to see if you agree with this. Would you agree that if it was simply because people don't communicate effectively, then all the books that are out there, all the coaching and counseling and podcasts and audiobooks, and you name it, programs that you may have listened to, purchased, and you're thinking, everyone should have by now a more satisfying marriage if that's all it took. Now you say, well, Kingsley, of course it takes more than that. Well, it would be you would think I would agree with you, but you would think that simply the onus, the blame, the reason why your marriage, your relationship is not what it could be is because you just don't communicate effectively. Now, if you've ever heard that or been accused of being a poor communicator, then you want to stick around to the two-thirds of this video, right? And the way into this video where I will reveal to you what I believe the missing piece of what it takes to what makes communication the most effective. What is missing from this idea that effective communication is all there is? I believe there's a missing piece, right? And I want to share that with you. And you'll hear that about two-thirds into this video. And I believe it's not about what you say. So you might be thinking, I know what that is. No, no, it's not about what you say. As you hear more often than not, people say, oh, it's not what you say, is what? How you say it, right? Have you heard that before? So whenever it comes to that, I would say, no, I think it's both. It's what you say and how you say what you say, right? I believe in that as well. But in this video, it's not about what you say or how you say something that I believe is missing from why your marriage is not as satisfying when it comes to the area of communication, which is really the essence of what happens in marriages. I believe that the problems you have in your marriage and I have in my marriage comes down to communication, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. We are always communicating something, and it's in that communication that something gets lost, right? Now, imagine sitting across from your spouse, right? Wanting to express yourself, but feeling like you're speaking different languages. Ever been there? You're not alone. I mean, it's been 38 years of marriage for me. And I can tell you that there are times where I felt that my wife was communicating something to me and I was on a different plane, a different page than she was, and vice versa. We've had that. We've kind of become, after 38 years, you would think that we have perfected the art of communicating. Can I just let you in on a secret? We have not. We're still at work because every stage of life requires a different approach to communication for many reasons, right? People who are in their elderly stage of marriage or of life requires a different type of communication because you're going to deal with people who have hearing loss, right? Or their hearing is not as what it used to be. And maybe their sight is not as what it used to be. And he said, you don't have to wait until you're old because for some even younger people, that is true. So that requires a different approach to communication that may have been taking place all along. So every stage of life requires a different way of communication. So you're not alone if you're experiencing that in your relationship. George Bernard Shaw said this: the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place, right? The illusion that it has taken place. Most people will tell you they are great communicators, and they'll tell you that the problem with communication is not them. Okay? They want you to know it's not them, it's the other person, it's their husband, it's their wife. It's not them. But as he said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Because you may have said what you have said or wanted to say, doesn't mean that communication took place. I believe communication only takes place when the sender is able to confirm that the message sent to the receiver is a message the receiver received. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but I won't have time to unpack that. You can digest, think about that, put it on pause, and go back and replay that and just think about what I've just said. Now, have you ever tried to explain why the toilet seat should be left down and ended up in a debate? I remember when we first got married, my wife and I, one of the things that we experienced was, with the toilet paper, because I came from a place where and again, you may have had this in your own home, and you can, let me know in the comments if this is true and what your experience have been. But I remember that for me, the toilet paper needed to be pulled from the bottom down, right? The bottom down. And so that's every time I put the toilet paper on there that way, I would come back and find that it was turned around where it was pulled from the top down, right? But it is where I would then change it back. And then my wife and I would say to her, why did you turn the toilet paper the other way? She was saying, well, that's not the way that you put it is for it to be. Well, who is right? Who's going to be the toilet paper police, right? But for some reason, it became, thank God it did not get into a debate, because we were at least recognizing that were small things, and who cares which way it was rolled. It does the same job, right? It's going to do one job. It doesn't matter how you pull it down or you over, it's how it's torn. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. So thank God we never got into an argument. But I know some couples who have gotten an argument over the toilet paper, over the toothpaste, how it's squeezed from that tube. I don't know if you've gotten into that. I would, again, comment below if you have experienced that, or hit that like button to let me know that this is something that you can resonate with. But the illusion of effective talking, effective communication is what people, as George Bernard Shaw says, explained about people thinking they have communicated. So I want to talk about this very briefly for a moment, the illusion of effective communication or effective talking. And so I want to picture perfecting those skills that you have been working on. Hold that there for a second, and I want you to think about this with me. From the wisest man outside of Jesus that said this, and that's Solomon. He said in Proverbs 18, verse 2, he says, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion, right? Now, what he's simply saying, he's not calling you a fool or me a fool, but he's saying the idea of wanting to be the person who is only interested in expressing his or her opinion, but takes no pleasure in trying to understand the other person, is foolish. It's only fools that do that. And I'm sure you do not want to be qualified as such. I think it was Stephen Covey who said that you should, learn to, first try to understand than to be understood. First, try to understand than to be understood. Because sometimes we are so actively, so busy trying to have the other person hear us and understand us, and we don't take time to also try to understand where they're coming from. But this is hard. And you say, Kingsley, well, isn't that what the skills of effective communication is all about? Active listening, what it is, negotiation, assertiveness. What else is there? Reflective listening, right? Echoing back what you've heard, eye contact, nonverbals. All those things are part of effective communication skills. So yes, you may be doing those things, right? But then you might still be hitting the roadblocks. So picture having done all of those things, doing all of those things, but why is it that you're still hitting the roadblocks with your spouse? You're still not able to break through. You're still not able to get that experience where you both feel satisfied, feel heard at the end of the day. What is up with that? Why is that so? I think because one is what George Bernard Shaw says is that idea of illusion, the illusion of communication, feeling like you've communicated when you really, really haven't done that. So, what's missing? What's missing? Now, have you ever done a puzzle? You know, as I talk about this, I think about it's been a very, very long time since I've done a puzzle, but I remember one time, more than once, in buying a puzzle and I'm building out this puzzle. By the way, I think it's a good therapeutic exercise, and so I may want to think about, after this recording, probably pull out or get a puzzle, and then my wife and I can sit down and try to put it together and just be have some fun, just to do some things together. Right? It's a great way to spend some time. But I remember one time, and again, it's having more than once that I built out a puzzle only to get to the end, and maybe it has happened to you as well, only to get to the end to realize that one piece is missing. One piece is missing. And it's not because you've used a piece someplace else because it would not have fit, but that one piece is missing. You begin to look, you pull, you take the box up, you look under the box, you shake the box. Even though it's been open for a long time, you're shaking the box, you're looking on everything possible, but to no avail. You're not able to find that piece. What are your feelings at that time? I can tell you what mine was. I felt frustrated. I felt like, man, I've worked this hard. I've put all this time in. I've been very, very careful, and there, to make certain that I'm getting this together. And the closer it gets, like I'm gonna get this breakthrough, have this finish this puzzle, and then that piece is missing. It's like that when you're in your communication with your partner, right? You felt you have done all the effective communication skills. You've done all the active listening, reflective listening, share feed the feedback, the negotiation, the all of those things you've done, and then you feel like it never landed properly because there might be more frustration because you feel like your partner seemed like he or she didn't get you or act as if they never even heard what you said or dismissed what you were saying. That is that one piece that's missing, right? And so um, I believe this ingredient that's missing, and if you feel that way, like I've described, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. I love what the Bible said in Ephesians 4, verse 2, where Paul says, "Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love." Again, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. This, I believe, holds the hidden piece, the hidden gem that's missing in what's out there. So you're hearing here, and maybe for the first time, what I believe is missing, and I call that godly communication, which includes this very, very important ingredient called humility. Humility. That is a secret ingredient to flavor up your conversations. Imagine having, I'm from Jamaica. You may have heard my accent, but we love seasoned food, right? We love our food seasoned, and I don't like bland food. So when you have ineffective communication or even have done all the skills in communicating, my friend, it's missing because sometimes it's bland. It doesn't have that seasoning to it. I remember my wife and I, in the early stage of our relationship, our marriage, were invited to a friend's some friend's home. This is years ago, before we even have kids. As a matter of fact, they were a bit older than we were, so I'm not even sure they are alive today. As a matter of fact, I know one of the spouse has died many, many years ago, so I don't even know if the other one is alive. And even if they were, they would not even know because we never even divulged or in any way make them feel as if what they did was really a very bland dinner they invited us to. And I remember this very, very specifically. My wife and I, when they brought this food outside out of the microwave, it seemed like it was a chicken. The chicken seemed like we had chicken and potatoes. The chicken seemed like it was put in the microwave and spent whatever time it was and brought out. It was still as white as it went in. It had no seasoning on there. And we had to kind of, tolerate it. I can tell you, here's this happened many, many years now, but I still remember. I still remember because it was so bland. It was so bland. And this boy is from Jamaica. We love seasoned food. And so imagine me sitting there and trying to eat our way through that. And so we just quickly said how full we were, and then we were having some water and juice and stuff. So we drank a lot of that and had the baked potato and some chicken, and we left there thinking, man, what a bland chicken! I will never forget that. But I think sometimes it's what happens in communication, in conversations. As a couple, it's bland. There's no seasoning, and the missing season ingredient is humility. It's humility. It's more about a heart issue than it is what you say or how you say what you said, right? And that's why I call it godly communication. He said, Kingsley, what about somebody who don't even believe or subscribe to the God thing? Well, here's what I know, my friend. You're going to do more of what you've done, but don't expect to get any other results. The reason why I believe godly communication is the best way to communicate effectively and have a satisfying outcome is because it includes things like humility and kindness and grace. Those are heart issues that I believe makes the difference in what happens in communication. And so it's like that chicken again, that seasoning I was missing. If it's missing from your conversation, it's not going to go the way you're hoping it would, right? So I want you to imagine humility then as the magic wand that transforms your communication struggles, right? It takes it into a more heartfelt connections. It's what connects you with the other person to say, I get it. It's almost like they feel something different when it's coming from a place of humility than one of pride, where it says, I'm going to be right no matter what happens. And sometimes couples go through that where one feels that they can't lose, they have to be right or they have to win. But here's what happened. I tell couples many times, I've done this for almost 2 decades as a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified relationship coach. I tell couples many times, guess what? If you win, someone else loses. But not only that, if you win and the other person loses, guess what else lose? The relationship. So I will tell my couples many times, I say, hey guys, I'm not on your side or on your side. I'm on the relationship side. That's the side I'm on. The relationship is my client. So I'm advocating for this relationship because if the relationship wins, then everybody wins. Using the win lose kind of thing, because I'm not necessarily thinking about winning. I'm thinking about what's best for the relationship. And a heartfelt connection only comes when there is a heartfelt approach. And one of those things I believe I call that staging. That's the first aspect of this I call it the four-legged stool, or the roadmap to healthy, satisfying relationship, conversation outcome. The first part of that is really what I call staging the conversation. And I will, in the links below, I'll have you, if you want to listen to my podcast, which I kind of unpack that, you can listen to the podcast there as well and hear more about what staging the conversation is all about. C.S. Lewis says this: humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less, right? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. That is what happens when you're able to do that. Then your effective communication really takes place. Really takes place. Again, it's not so much what you say or the skills you use or when you say that. It's a heart behind what you say that matters. The heart of humility, the heart of understanding what grace is, the heart of understanding what forgiveness is. That's where it comes from. And until, my friend, you can get there, because even the Bible says God resists the proud. He resists the proud, but he exalts the humble. God is into humility. Jesus himself humbled himself and became like a servant. So he himself have done that and communicated to us how much he loved us, right? This power of humility that is so important, and that's one of the things I talk about in my roadmap of how to have difficult conversations made easy. Roadmap in there, I have this idea of staging the conversation, which includes humility, and you can hear more about that, and you can comment below if you want to know more. Just say more on staging the conversation or humility, and I will get with you on that. Okay, so it's very important then for this idea of us to think about effective communication is crucial, right? And again, I'm not in any way dismissing those skills. I teach them. I help couples with them. They're important, but that alone is not enough. It's not the the be all end all. No, it's not. There's more to it than that. So while effective communication is crucial, without humility, my friend, it's like a ship that's just drifting in the ocean, lacking direction. So, so it's not about them mastering the communication techniques and skills. It's about mastering the art of humility. And I want us to ignite what I call a humility revolution, right? A humility revolution in relationships, in marriages. Why? Because this will give you more of the results you've been looking for. So imagine the joy of finally connecting with your spouse on a deeper level. Imagine the joy of being able to understand your spouse and being understood by your spouse. That's the power of effective communication that's fueled by humility. So I want you to keep practicing humility and watch what happens in your relationship. See how it transforms your marriage into a source of joy and fulfillment. Okay. And that is which what it is all about. Why I say that your marriage will be more satisfying and happier and fulfilled if you can add this ingredient to the chicken. And when you do, my friend, you will have a seasoned chicken and you will enjoy that, namely your marriage, your relationship. Watch this video right here and find out more. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you on the next video. God bless.